Hey guys, tonight we're slipping beneath the surface of the waking world and into something quieter. Something slower. The ocean you're about to visit doesn't exist on any map. It waits for you only in stillness, beneath the weight of the stars, where tides hum and fog curls like sleep around the edges of thought. You'll begin just above the waves, high in the hush of a place that isn't quite sky and isn't quite sea. The air smells like salt softened with lavender and rain-soaked wood. There's no wind, only a tender stillness, as if everything is holding its breath just for you. Below, the water gleams black, blue, and silver, reflecting moonlight like a polished mirror made of dreams. You hover above it, unsure if you're floating or standing or simply imagining. That's the thing about this place, it never corrects you. If you think you're flying, you are. If you think you're sinking, you're drifting with purpose. The only thing you can be sure of is that the ocean below knows your name. Not the one you were given at birth. The quiet one you only hear in your sleep. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me, where in the world are you listening from tonight, and what time is it for you? I always love reading your little windows into the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The water doesn't ripple at first. It waits, sensing your gaze. Then, with a sigh like silk slipping off skin, a small circle opens at the center of the stillness. You lean forward, or perhaps you don't move at all, and suddenly you're sinking. Not falling. Not drowning. Just sinking like a pearl returning home. You pass through layers of water so clear they barely exist. The stars above slowly stretch into long ribbons, their light trailing behind you like threads from a forgotten tapestry. Everything is muted here, your thoughts included. That voice in your head that worries and wonders has curled up somewhere behind your heart, fast asleep. Tiny silver fish dart around you in looping spirals, trailing glints of light like calligraphy on water. One brushes past your hand, its skin like velvet soaked in moonlight, and disappears into the darkness below. You feel no fear, only a kind of remembered awe, as though your soul once lived here, long ago. A soft warmth passes through you, the temperature of a lullaby hummed against your cheek. The water becomes denser, dreamier. Somewhere in the distance, a bell chimes underwater. Once. Twice. Each note a bubble of sound that tickles your ears and tugs at something ancient inside you. You're deeper now, yet the pressure doesn't tighten, it loosens. Your fingers float weightlessly. Your legs don't quite belong to you anymore, and that's perfectly fine. Who needs legs where you're going? Down here, movement is permission, and permission is given simply by wanting to be somewhere. The scent changes. Now there's a trace of sweet algae and driftwood, with a touch of something nostalgic, perhaps rain on a tent in childhood, or the softness of a warm blanket that always smelled like your favorite person. The ocean remembers these things even when you don't. You pass through a curtain of fog that seems to have gathered underwater, defying explanation. But then again, you stopped needing explanations minutes ago. The fog is warm and tingles faintly on your cheeks, like carbonated starlight. You reach out, and the mist clings to your fingers before vanishing into the current. A school of translucent fish in the shape of origami cranes swims past, their wings folding and unfolding in slow synchrony. One pauses mid-swim, making eye contact for just a second, and you swear it knows something it chooses not to say. Somewhere above, moonlight still filters faintly, painting the water in gentle beams. But already, you sense you are crossing into a realm where sunlight and surface rules don't apply. This is not just a place beneath the ocean. It's a place within it. Just when you begin to wonder what might be waiting at the bottom of this drift, the current shifts. Not with force, but with intention. You feel it as a polite nudge against your back. A whispered invitation in the language of dreams. You pass a sleeping turtle the size of a cabin, resting atop a bed of sea feathers. Its shell pulses softly with pale light, casting dancing shadows across the seabed. You don't disturb it. You nod, and in its sleep, it nods back. A soft chuckle escapes your lips, not quite audible, but felt in your chest like a secret joke. Did you just bow to a dreaming turtle? Of course you did. That's how things work here. And just before the descent pauses, something shivers through the water. A sound, not loud, not sharp, but low and immeasurably deep, rumbles across the sea like a lullaby sung by something massive and unseen. It's not frightening. In fact, it feels like the sound you might have heard in your mother's arms before you had words. A sound of being held. And as the final bubbles leave your lips and drift upward like lanterns, you know the journey has only begun. You won't need to hold your breath here. The sea breathes for you now. You drift deeper now, the darkness not threatening, but velvet. It wraps around you like the soft inside of a shell, muffling every stray thought that might have followed you down. There's no cold here. No pressure. Only the feeling that you are being slowly swaddled in sleep itself. The current tilts slightly, guiding you like a lazy gondola down a slow canal. With each meter, the light above bends and folds, becoming softer, gentler, until it isn't light at all, but memory. It filters through the water not as brightness, but as warmth. As familiarity. The silence is not empty. It holds breath. It holds patience. And within that silence, something begins to shimmer on the edge of your vision, slender strands, like golden seaweed twisting upward from the depths. The strands curl lazily, spiraling like incense smoke. And nestled within them, pearls of light, the size of eggs, pulsing softly like heartbeat fireflies. You drift into them, the kelp folding around you with gentle fingers. They don't brush against your skin so much as bow to your presence. Their leaves are soft as song lyrics half remembered. Every time one touches you, a memory surfaces, not sharply, but like mist through a window. A classroom once. A distant birthday. The texture of a sweater you loved and lost. You smile, not quite sure why. Then come the bubbles. Fat, glassy, and slow. They rise all around you in quiet procession. Each bubble catches fragments of light and twists it into new colors: lavender, tea green, coral orange, the soft white of a closing eye. Some of them seem to whisper things as they pass, nonsense maybe, or lullabies from fish with poetic souls. One particularly large bubble floats in front of you and pauses. Within it, a miniature version of yourself, curled up like a child, sound asleep in a bed that looks exactly like your own. You blink, and the bubble rises away. You chuckle again. A soft, dreamy sound. Okay, brain, you murmur in your mind. You win this round. Just then, the kelp parts to reveal a clearing. A circular space enclosed by a ring of seagrass, tall as trees and swaying in hypnotic unison. The water here hums. You don't hear it with your ears exactly. You feel it through your fingertips, like your pulse is matching something bigger than you. Above you, high in this submerged ballroom of sway and shimmer, float lanterns, dozens of them, tethered by invisible threads. They look like jellyfish crossed with paper lanterns, glowing from within with that same golden light. Some flicker, some burn steady, some pulse like lullabies set to heartbeats. You realize these are the lanterns of the Seaweed Bazaar. And though you were never told their name, you've always known it. Floating into the center of the ring, you pause. The water holds you in place as if sensing you need a moment. You glance around, and slowly, the lanterns begin to drift closer. Not threatening, just curious. One moves near your face and opens like a flower, releasing a tiny glowing fish the size of a grain of rice. It zips in a loop around your head, leaving a tiny giggle in its wake. Another lantern cracks open like an egg and spills out a memory, not yours, but somehow familiar. A woman laughing near a cliff by the sea. Wind in her hair. A scarf caught mid-air. And just like that, it's gone. Every lantern holds something. A story, a feeling, a scent. One smells like toasted chestnuts on a cold evening. Another crackles like a fireplace. Yet another whispers, "Remember who you were before the world asked you to be so serious." A very large lantern, taller than you, drifts toward you now. Its surface glows with deep cerulean light, and within it you see a silhouette. No. Several. They look like whales, swimming in a circle. But not just swimming, singing. Their mouths don't open, but the light inside them ripples with the same rhythm as that deep, bone-softening hum you heard earlier. And then you realize, you've already heard the first note of the whale's song. It came when the fog touched your fingers. When the kelp bowed. When the bubbles showed you your sleeping self. The song isn't sound. It's sensation. It's presence. It's the ocean remembering that you're here. The lantern opens, and without fear you step into it. Instantly, you're floating inside a gentle spiral. Kelp coils around you in a lazy helix, glowing faintly from within. The walls of this spiral seem to stretch outward and inward at once. A paradox in motion. You laugh, and the sound dances around the space like a shy fish learning to sing. In this spiral, gravity forgets to exist. You turn upside down without noticing. You swim without moving. You remember how to exhale, not from your lungs, but from the spaces in your mind that haven't drawn breath in years. And in the distance, that sound returns again, the low, velvety whale note. Only now, it's closer. You can feel it vibrate in your teeth, in your bones, and somehow, in your memories. A lullaby for the parts of you that never had words. You don't know how long you drift. Time is just another ripple here. Eventually, the spiral loosens. You feel it in your chest before you see it. The kelp fronds begin to untangle, revealing a passage ahead. The water changes again, slightly warmer, a trace of cinnamon and ocean stone in the air. Light streams through from the other side like moonlight filtered through sea glass. And just before you cross into the next dream layer, a tiny octopus the color of champagne zips by and wraps a single tentacle gently around your finger before vanishing in a puff of glittering ink. You smile again. Why not? The passage opens, and you float into a vast chamber woven entirely from seaweed and soft coral strands. It stretches in all directions like a drifting garden, each tendril hanging like lace in suspension. This is the Seaweed Bazaar, though no one ever calls it that aloud. Names aren't needed here. Things simply are. Lanterns dangle from invisible threads, glowing with a kind of sleepy curiosity. They pulse gently, and when you float near, you hear them whisper in tones so subtle they could be the rustle of fabric or the echo of thought. They seem to greet you, not with words but with memory. A taste. A scent. A sigh. You glide slowly through rows of seaweed stalls that have no merchants. The goods here are intangible, drifting orbs of light that shimmer like memories made liquid. You pass one that smells of petrichor and warm tea. Another that hums like a lullaby sung by someone you miss. Every now and then, one of the orbs nudges toward you. If you let it, it hovers near your chest, flutters once like a heartbeat, and drifts away, leaving behind a glow and a soft chuckle that isn't yours, but feels like it could have been. The coral here is plush, not hard. You brush your hand across a fan of it, and it giggles, yes, giggles, like a delighted child. Some of the coral blooms open as you pass, offering cups of glimmering light. One of them spills sparkles on your arm that don't float away. They sink into your skin like warmth on a cold day. Overhead, thin, ribbon-like eels curl lazily through the open water like shop cats watching the night go by. One winks at you, then disappears into a fold in the seaweed. Another curls into a perfect spiral and begins snoring. You didn't know eels could snore, but here, of course, they do. Near the far end of the bazaar, a cluster of floating shells begins to chime. Not from motion, there's no current strong enough, but as if they sense something approaching. You pause. And then you see them. Jellyfish. Dozens of them, perhaps more, drift in from the far side of the coral veil. Their bells glow soft orange and lavender, their tentacles trailing with elegance that makes you feel underdressed even though you're not wearing anything at all, just the dream version of comfort. They move with dignity, like monks in slow procession. As they pass, the sea around you changes. The temperature cools slightly. The light becomes richer, like sunset wrapped in water. One jellyfish floats close to you, brushes your shoulder with the gentlest flick of a trailing tentacle, and suddenly, you remember a song you haven't thought of in years. You hum it. Quietly. Just one note. And the jellyfish pause. They listen. One by one, they begin to change color. The hues shift like oil on water, silvers to blush pinks, violets to soft blues. Each jellyfish now pulses in rhythm to your heartbeat. The bazaar fades behind you. You have become part of something new. They drift onward, and so do you, swept gently in their wake. You find yourself entering a new space. It feels enclosed, though you see no walls. Just a change in the light and a hush that tells you this is sacred. The jellyfish begin to rise slowly, arranging themselves above you like the stained glass of a cathedral dome. Their bells flicker, casting kaleidoscope shadows across the seafloor. This is the jellyfish cathedral. You float into the center. Below you, a wide stone rests, flat and smooth, covered in soft moss. You settle onto it without needing to kick or turn. The ocean simply lets you rest. The jellyfish overhead still glow, their colors shifting with your breath. In, out. Each inhale a ripple. Each exhale a color. You close your eyes. And in that moment you hear it again. The wail. Not close. Not yet. But nearer than before. Its song doesn't arrive in notes. It arrives in emotion. Like a hug you didn't know you needed. Like tears you never had time to shed. Around you, the jellyfish begin to hum, not in imitation, but in harmony. It's as if they've been waiting for the whale's voice to know which song they were supposed to sing. The cathedral fills with sound, not loud, not sharp. Just enveloping. Like a quilt for your soul. You smile again. That's 3 times now. You must be doing something right. You notice something written on the moss-covered stone beneath you. Not carved, glowing. A single sentence in a language you've never studied but instantly understand. You are the echo of something still singing. You reach out and trace it with your finger. The letters ripple and vanish, like ink on water. Above, the jellyfish begin to move again. One dips low, so low it brushes the top of your head. As it rises, it pulls with it the weight you didn't know you were carrying. You feel lighter. Not physically. Emotionally. As if an invisible sigh finally exhaled from your ribs. A low laugh bubbles up again. Okay, you think. This place is better than therapy. One final jellyfish bows toward you, a slow, graceful nod of thanks, and turns to follow the others as they drift out of the cathedral, vanishing through the far veil of sea silk. The water stirs gently. The light dims to that perfect balance of indigo and gold. You push away from the stone and follow. Behind you, the cathedral fades into memory, and ahead, a soft chime, and the sound of choral bells. The cathedral fades behind you like the hush that follows the last note of a lullaby. You're not swimming, not really, you're drifting, escorted by soft currents that guide without insisting. Ahead, the water becomes denser with color. Not darker, not murky, just richer, like the inside of a pearl. And within it, something moves, a field of tall seagrass, waving slowly like fields of wheat in a wind you can't hear. You pass through the first strands. They tickle your arms, brushing like lazy fingers against your skin. Some of them hum. Others sigh. A few seem to giggle quietly, as if they've just shared a joke about you, but in a kind way. Then come the coral bells. Small stalks rise from the ocean floor, each topped with a bell-shaped bloom in colors you don't have names for, like if sunrise and moonlight had a baby. The blooms sway with the current, and from them spill notes. Gentle, crystalline tones, like chimes made of cloud glass. You pause, listening. And there it is again, the whale's song now closer. Still distant, but unmistakable. A low, echoing note that curls around your spine like a blanket fresh from the dryer. You feel it before you hear it. Like emotion made audible. The coral bells seem to respond. One by one, their soft chimes join the whale's note, harmonizing as if they've rehearsed for this moment since the beginning of the sea. You wander deeper into the meadow. The seagrass grows taller now, up to your shoulders, then to your chin. It parts gently as you pass, never resisting, always giving way like sleep to a tired thought. Some blades of grass glow faintly, others release bubbles that rise and pop without sound, releasing scents of citrus and memory. A particularly tall stalk bends toward you. At the tip is a small bloom shaped like a trumpet. It doesn't chime, but speaks. Not in words, but in something that brushes the edge of meaning. You feel it say, "Some things can only be remembered underwater." And you don't question it. As you move forward, the seagrass begins to thin, opening into a circle of soft white sand. It's perfectly smooth, no ripples, no tracks. At its center stands a sculpture made of driftwood and bone coral. It turns slowly, though there is no current. Around its base, fish the size of thimbles hover in formation, moving in spirals. As they turn, they release a sound like the ticking of tiny clocks. You listen closely. The ticking isn't random. It's in rhythm with your breathing. Inhale. Tick tick tick. Exhale. Tick tick tick. You laugh softly. "Of course," you whisper. "The ocean has a clock." One of the fish peels away from the circle and floats toward you. It's shimmering gold, and its fins look like gossamer threads. It pauses in front of your nose, tilts slightly, and opens its tiny mouth. Out floats a droplet of sound, a single note from a music box long forgotten in an attic of dreams. Then it swims away, satisfied. The sculpture slowly begins to unravel. Not collapse, just open. Like a flower blooming in reverse. And from the center rises a dome of transparent jelly. Within it, a vision. You lean closer. Inside, you see a memory. Yours, though you don't remember living it. A beach. Twilight. You're younger, barefoot, holding something small and glowing in your hands. A voice is calling from the waves, low and melodic. Not speaking, just inviting. The younger you listens, nods, and walks into the sea. Then the vision fades. The dome shivers once and vanishes. The whale's song returns, clearer now. And this time, the note isn't just around you. It's beneath you. You look down. The sand begins to part. A thin line forms in the center of the circle, opening slowly like a curtain drawn by invisible hands. Beneath the sand, water again. But darker. Deeper. More still. Not dangerous, but knowing. You hesitate, only briefly. Then you descend. The entrance tightens behind you, sealing like a secret. The water here is thicker. Your movements slower. But everything feels more vivid now, every sensation sharper, like when you dream in color for the first time. The world grows silent again, but not empty. Just waiting. And then, through the haze below, you see a shimmer. First it's a blur. Then a shape. Then a presence. The whale. You don't see its full form, just the beginning. The arc of a fin. The long, trailing threads of bioluminescent fog that wrap around it like a robe woven from star whispers. And even though it's still far away, you feel the shift inside you. You're not alone anymore. And you were never meant to be. The whale does not swim toward you, it arrives. As though it has always been here, and you are merely waking into its presence. It glides forward, slow as a thought just before sleep. Its body is vast, a silhouette of soft starlight and fog stitched together with glimmers of silver and blue. Each time it moves, light flows across its skin like moonbeams on a river's surface. It isn't so much glowing as remembering light. You can't help but reach out. And though the distance between you is still wide, it feels as though your fingertips brush the edge of something ancient. A memory so old it predates words. The whale sings again. This time, it's not just sound, it's color. The water around you bursts with ripples of soft blues and warm golds, as if the ocean itself is blushing. You feel it vibrate through your chest, past your ribs, into the very space where old dreams used to live. The seagrass meadow above you vanishes. Now you're suspended in a sphere of calm, where time holds no authority. The whale turns gently, circling you once. Its eye, vast and knowing, meets yours. And you are seen. Not watched. Not examined. Seen, as if your joys, your weariness, your forgotten wishes and stray fragments of yesterday have all been cradled and acknowledged. "Hello?" you whisper, though your voice makes no ripple. The water carries your greeting anyway, and the whale responds, not with speech, but with a feeling. Welcome home. Around you, the water begins to shift again. Tiny lights, like fireflies, rise from the depths. Some are no larger than grains of sand, others the size of coins. They flicker and swirl, forming gentle spirals that encircle you and the whale. You realize they're not random. They're patterns. Scripts. Like dream language written in light. You tilt your head and see symbols forming in the glow. Not letters, but shapes that feel like emotion turned into geometry. Circles for comfort, triangles for longing, spirals for memory. The whale hums once more, and the lights shift, rising like a galaxy caught in slow-motion bloom. And in the very center of that bloom, another shape begins to form. A doorway. It isn't solid. It wavers, made of woven light and shimmer. But it holds its shape. A tall archway made of what seems to be fog and moon reflection. You and the whale glide toward it together. Before entering, the whale pauses, arching its back ever so slightly. A trail of mist peels off its body like ribbons, curling around your arms, your shoulders, your chest. Not heavy. Not binding. Just enough to hold you, like the weight of a warm blanket over tired legs. Then, with a breath that seems to pulse through the entire ocean, the whale passes through the archway. You follow. Inside is a world unlike anything above. The currents become spiral-shaped, winding around unseen axes. The water here is warmer, tinged with cinnamon and salt. Glowing lilies float upward from the ocean floor, their petals trailing behind them like gowns. They light your path as you continue beside the whale, who now glides more swiftly, no longer restrained by memory. You pass enormous statues carved from coral and mother of pearl. Faces turned upward, mouths open as if mid-song. Some have tears sculpted into their cheeks, though the tears glow with joy, not sorrow. They seem to recognize the whale. And they seem to recognize you. At one turn, you spot a creature curled in the reef's crook, a massive sea serpent, scales glowing like molten jade. It slumbers with its mouth slightly open, emitting a low hum in harmony with the whale's song. It doesn't wake, but a single eye peeks open, meets yours, and winks before returning to its dreams. A trail of bioluminescent starfish marks your way now, forming a path of tiny lights across the ocean floor. Each step you take triggers a soft glow beneath your feet, like stepping on forgotten stardust. The whale moves ahead, curling gently upward. You follow, and the water above parts, not violently, not suddenly, but with grace, as if the sea is bowing to your passage. You break through into a wide cavern made of breathing stone. It expands and contracts softly, as if the rock itself is alive. Not in a threatening way. More like the entire space is dreaming of you, and you've finally arrived to complete its dream. The whale circles above, and the hum of its song bounces from stone to stone, layering into harmonies. The walls shimmer faintly with memories trapped in crystal. You move closer, and one of them activates as you pass. A vision. You. Sitting by a window. Rain against the glass. A cup in your hand. You aren't doing anything, just existing. But in the vision, there's peace. The kind of peace you once thought had to be earned, but now realize simply is. You step back. The crystal dims. The whale releases a note, deep, long, loving, and from the ceiling, droplets of golden water fall gently. They don't splash. They don't even ripple. They dissolve as they touch the ocean around you, releasing a scent like warm honey and sea breeze. For a long time, nothing happens. And yet, everything does. You float, weightless and understood. The cavern breathes around you. The whale waits above. And deep within your chest, something settles. A softness. A stillness. A truth without words. The cavern sighs. Not from any single mouth or crevice, but from everywhere, as though the stone itself has lungs and just released a breath it's held for centuries. You feel it ripple through the water, gentle and complete, a reminder that here, even the still things breathe with you. You rise slowly, drawn upward by a current as smooth and deliberate as a dancer's arms. The whale glides alongside, not leading now, but keeping pace. Equal travelers. You exchange no words, only glances, weightless nods, the kind of quiet understanding that only exists when language has fallen away and trust floats in its place. As you ascend through a crack in the ceiling of the breathing cavern, a soft, golden fog begins to swirl around you. It's not dense, not obscuring. More like it chooses what you see, revealing only what you're ready for. It curls around your wrists, nestles into your hair, and smells faintly of old book pages kissed by salt air and the petals of flowers that bloom only at night. You emerge into a strange open space, a vast shelf of coral overlooking a sweeping series of tidipools. These aren't ordinary tidipools. No barnacles, no sea urchins, no scuttling crabs. These pools are clear as memory and seem to float just slightly above the reef, as though levitating on sighs. Inside each pool, a moment. You approach the first. The water in it is so still you expect to see your reflection, but instead, you see a spinning top, twirling alone on a wooden floor. You feel something tighten in your chest. A memory. A hand that once reached down to steady it. You blink, and the image fades. You move to the next. This one holds a dance, not formal, not rehearsed. A quiet kitchen sway. Two bodies, one humming. No shoes. A cat in the corner yawns. You've never seen this memory, and yet, your heart sways with the same rhythm. The tidipools go on and on. Some hold laughter. Others longing. A few simply shimmer with light and no form at all, feelings too soft for shape. And above them float the timekeepers. They look like crabs, but their shells are made of translucent glass, and inside them, tiny gears tick and whirl. Not clocks exactly, more like dream mechanisms. Each click releases a faint note, and when enough of them move in unison, the reef fills with a lullaby so delicate, it feels like the breath of a feather brushing your thoughts. You crouch by one, curious. It turns toward you, lifts one spindly leg, and taps it against its shell. The gears within spin faster for a moment, then slow again. It's showing you something, trying to sync your pulse with its rhythm. When you breathe in, it ticks. When you exhale, it rests. Tick. Breathe. Tick. Pause. Tick. You laugh, and the crab's shell pulses with warm pink light. If it could smile, it would. Instead, it scuttles sideways into the shadow of a coral arch, leaving behind a glimmering trail like spilled moonlight. The whale watches all this from a distance, its great eye half-lidded, as if amused. And then the pools begin to glow in sequence. One by one, soft lights rise from them, floating upward like bubbles filled with memory. They form a path, not one that leads forward but inward, toward a cluster of ancient ruins resting in the center of the shelf. You follow. These ruins are made of carved shell and luminous stone. Their shapes are geometric but softened by time. Spirals dominate, every doorway, every column, every step curling gently inward, like the ocean always folding back into itself. You pass beneath a crumbling arch etched with unfamiliar symbols. They shift when you look too long, but if you glance just right, they say something like, "Here, the forgotten dreams are kept until you're ready to remember them." Inside, the structure opens into a hollow chamber. Shelves line the walls, hundreds of them. They're not filled with books, but with scrolls made of fish-scale parchment, their ribbons fluttering in currents only they can feel. Glowing seahorses the size of fingers hover silently, gently adjusting the scrolls. Some of the seahorses carry magnifying glasses in their tiny tails. Others wear little hats. You stifle a laugh. One scroll floats free of its shelf and unrolls before you. The text upon it is shifting, like waves across sand. You don't read it with your eyes. You read it by remembering something you didn't know you had forgotten. A moment in a hallway. A glance. A word that meant everything, though it was never said. You press your palm to the scroll. It warms beneath your touch. The words dissolve, and in their place appears a symbol, a spiral surrounding a single dot. You recognize it immediately. It is you. Or at least, it's the version of you who dreamed this place into being long before you knew how. You turn back toward the exit, and waiting outside, where the tidipool light now dims, is the whale. It dips its head, just slightly, and opens its mouth. A low note rolls out, not loud, but so resonant that the ruins tremble with joy. Coral glows. The crabs pause in reverence. Even the scrolls seem to flutter with excitement. This is not just a song. This is a remembering. The whale turns, its tail brushing the sand as it begins to glide away once more. You don't need to be told to follow. You don't even need to think. You belong to this moment. And the moment belongs to you. You follow the whale as it slips back into the sea's deeper folds, past the glowing tidipools and the ruins that now hum softly behind you, like a closed book still warm in your hands. The current has changed. It's slower now, thicker, as if you're moving not through water but through time itself. The path grows darker, not in the way of fear, but in the way of moonlight shaded by clouds. Everything becomes quieter, more intimate. You begin to hear your own breath again, feel your own heartbeat like footsteps on soft sand. The whale leads you toward the husk of a great ship, cradled gently on the ocean floor. Its mast leans sideways, tangled with trailing kelp. Its wooden ribs are half sunk into the sand, worn smooth by decades, centuries, of soft tides. There is no wreckage here. No ruin. Only rest. This is the shipwreck library. Its hull yawns open like an invitation, and you slip inside through a doorway made of light-struck coral and barnacle-polished timber. Inside, the ship is dry, not of water, but of noise. Every creak of wood has been replaced with a hush so deep you feel yourself lean into it. Books float here, not on shelves, but in slow spirals through the air, as if pages are wings. They don't fall or rise. They drift like feathers caught in the breath of the sea. You reach out to one. It flutters once, testing your touch, then opens in midair. The pages are soft, made of pressed sea leaf and shimmer. No ink. Only images, dreams frozen like seafoam at sunrise. You see an orchard where the trees bend backward to avoid stepping on fallen apples. A sky where clouds wear spectacles and hum lullabies to birds who forget how to land. A person sitting on a windowsill, watching themselves walk by in the street below, waving with a smile only one of them understands. You let the book go. It closes itself and returns to its spiral. Other books pass you by, some warm, some strange, some brimming with a gentle kind of sadness that you don't mind feeling. You realize this place isn't full of knowledge. It's full of feelings that never had a place to land. And the librarians? They are seahorses. Of course. Still in their tiny hats, still meticulous. One carries a ribbon and fastens it to the spine of a drifting book, guiding it into a spiral with a precision that would make any librarian proud. Another stops by your shoulder, gives you a look that clearly says, "Take your time," and zips away to rearrange a cluster of spiraling dream journals. One section of the ship is different. Quieter still. You wander there, drawn by a soft, golden glow. It's a room with no books, only mirrors. Oval-shaped, rimmed in kelp and soft shell. They hang in mid-water like moons. You float toward one, and it ripples as you approach. Inside, you don't see your face. You see yourself asleep, in your real bed, right now. Your brow smooth, your breath steady. A cat curled at your feet. Or maybe a blanket twisted like a sleeping cat. It's hard to tell here. And it doesn't matter. This reflection blinks once, slowly, and fades. In its place, a version of you that looks the same but wears different colors. Stands a little taller. Smiles a little easier. They nod to you. Not in farewell. In recognition. Behind you, the whale sings. Its note vibrates through the wood of the ship, making the mirrors tremble gently. You turn to see it hovering just outside the hull, its eye glowing faintly. Waiting. You move toward the exit, brushing your fingertips along a final book that drifts past. It opens just long enough to release a scent, cinnamon and pine, and a memory you hadn't meant to forget. Hands brushing in a hallway. A laugh over a chipped mug. The soft certainty that, at least once, you were truly seen. You leave the shipwreck, rising once more into open sea. The water is cooler now. But you are warmer. Something has filled you. Or perhaps, unfilled you, leaving only space for stillness. The whale turns gently, and you understand that it is not a guide anymore. It is a companion. A fellow traveler of the inner ocean. It begins to rise. So do you. Above, the water begins to lighten, and strange shapes emerge through the mist. Bridges made of coral and driftwood, arcing in curves that make no architectural sense, and yet hold together, suspended above the seabed. Beneath the bridges, structures float. Houses, towers, lanterns, all gently bobbing in place. No streets, no roads. Just drifting platforms held by dreams. You are arriving at the village of floating dreams. And somewhere within it, someone is already dreaming of you. The village of floating dreams rises into view like a mirage woven from moonlight and forgotten lullabies. You and the whale drift slowly toward it, your movements silent, reverent. The village doesn't sit on the ocean floor, it hovers. Each structure floats a few feet above the seabed, swaying slightly as if breathing. Lanterns dangle from invisible threads, their glow soft and steady, casting halos across the drifting rooftops. The buildings are made of things the sea forgot and the sky remembered. Driftwood shaped into curves, shells stacked like bricks, sea glass windows that shimmer with other people's dreams. As you approach, you realize the village is alive, but not in the way cities bustle or towns murmur. This place sleeps. Everything here is resting. Dreamers float above their rooftops, curled in fetal positions, wrapped in veils of gentle bioluminescence. Each one is weightless, tethered only by threads of light that pulse faintly with each breath. You pass beneath a bridge arched between two towers of kelp-wrapped coral. On it stands a childlike figure made of mist, its body only half-formed, as though the dream hasn't fully finished shaping it. It turns to look at you. It doesn't speak, but offers a slow, serene wave, then fades into a swirl of stardust. You smile. That counts as a greeting. One building catches your eye, a round cottage gently spinning in place, its windows open, lights spilling out like soft music. You float toward it and peek inside. Inside, a person floats midair, asleep and smiling faintly. A small fox with wings of seagrass lies curled at their feet. Books drift around them in lazy circles. The room smells of cardamom and ocean salt. On a nearby table, an hourglass filled with moonlight slowly turns itself, over and over, as if unsure which moment to keep. You move on. The whale hums beside you, low and kind, like a parent reminding you they're still there. You reach out without thinking and place your hand on its skin. It's warm, softer than water, firmer than mist. Like touching trust. You pass a school of tiny jellyfish that drift lazily through the village, wearing what seem to be tiny hats. One bumps into your shoulder and squeaks, not audibly, but in a way you feel in your cheekbones. You offer a quiet apology. It forgives you by spinning once and continuing on its dreamy patrol. The paths here aren't roads but ribbons of starlight that respond to your thoughts. When you wonder where to go next, the ribbons curl upward into spirals, guiding you to a quiet square where a circle of sleeping figures levitate over a glowing fountain. The fountain doesn't bubble. It breathes. Its surface ripples with each inhale, stills with each exhale. Around it, soft stone benches drift just above the ground. You sit, without needing to adjust your weight, without gravity reminding you you're real. In the fountain, images flicker. A birthday cake made entirely of snowflakes. A tree that sings lullabies when the wind gets lonely. A swing tied to the crescent of a forgotten moon. You watch for a while, then close your eyes. And in that moment, you join the dream. You aren't watching anymore. You are inside it. You swing, legs light, laughter catching in your chest. The air smells of summer just before the rain. Your hands grip moonlight ropes. Far below, the sea breathes. And when you open your eyes, you're back on the bench. The whale is waiting. It's time to move on. You rise and follow it again, through the far edge of the village, where buildings thin and the water begins to shimmer differently. There's a quiet tension in the current, like a held breath before a story's turning point. The dreamers begin to fade behind you. Not disappear, just grow softer, like memories wrapped in fog. A final figure drifts past, a man with coral beads braided into his hair, humming to himself as a glowing fish nestles into his palm. He doesn't see you. Or perhaps he does and chooses to let you pass in peace. The whale glides to the edge of a cliff, a drop-off so sudden and vast it feels like falling into the sky. Below, a glowing trench winds like a ribbon into nothingness. The whale pauses here, waiting, silent. You drift to its side. From the trench below, a light begins to rise, not fast, not sharp. A slow, expanding spiral of silver mist and faint golden shimmer. And from within it comes a sound. It's not the whale's voice. It's something older, deeper. A harmony. Another whale. Or perhaps the ocean itself. The one you followed sings back, not louder, but stronger. Its body shimmers with memory and meaning. For the first time, you sense its age, not in years, but in dreams guided, nights calmed, worries softened. You are part of the song now. The trench calls. And so, the whale descends. And so do you. Together. The descent into the trench is slow, sacred. The water becomes thick with silence, not emptiness but reverence, as though even the sea holds its breath in places like this. The whale moves ahead, each pulse of its fluke sending gentle currents that brush past you like invisible hands straightening your thoughts. The walls of the trench spiral downward like the inside of a conch shell, lined with glowing moss and translucent veils that flutter gently even in stillness. As you sink, the light shifts, from golden to indigo to a pale, humming silver that has no source and no shadow. It simply is. This part of the ocean doesn't feel deep, it feels endless. You and the whale spiral downward together, dancing through currents so smooth they feel like time moving sideways. Jellyfish shaped like stars drift past, leaving soft trails of sparkle behind them. One twirls around your wrist before vanishing into a swirl of bubbles that smell faintly of lavender and lightning. Further down, something strange happens. The trench opens, no longer a narrow spiral, but an enormous chamber suspended within the sea. And in the center of that chamber, air. A glowing bubble of atmosphere, pulsing faintly, rests in the hollow like a heart. The whale swims forward, unfazed, and passes through the membrane of the bubble. You follow. There's no resistance, just a brief shimmer of warmth, and suddenly, you are not swimming. You are standing. On solid ground. It takes your breath for a moment, though not because of any lack of air. You stand in a moonlit basin of soft stone. The ceiling above glows with dream light. No moon, no sun, just a general hum, as if the atmosphere itself is alive. You look down, and the floor is covered in a thin layer of water, no more than ankle deep. It reflects everything. You, the whale, which now hovers above the ground as if made of fog, and the echoes of memories still yet to be lived. In the center of the chamber stands a tree. An impossible tree. It grows from a pool of light, its bark translucent, its branches curling into spirals that drift slowly, like seaweed in reverse. Instead of leaves, it has ribbons of glowing script, words you don't understand but somehow know. The whale circles once, then comes to rest beside the tree. It releases a single note, low, tender, and familiar. The tree shivers. The ribbons flutter. And then the tree sings back. It's not a melody. It's a feeling, wrapped in a tone. The sound fills the chamber and moves through you, brushing every soft corner of your being. You don't cry, but if you did, the tears would be warm and easy. You step closer. The tree's pool begins to ripple, and within it you see visions, not of the past, not quite the future. Possibilities. You see yourself sitting beside someone you have not yet met, laughing in a way you forgot you could. You see yourself walking alone but peacefully, leaves falling gently around you. You see yourself standing still, smiling. These are not promises. They are invitations. The tree leans ever so slightly toward you, and one ribbon unspools. It floats down like a feather and drapes across your shoulders. You feel it settle not on your skin, but somewhere deeper. It's not heavy. It's not a burden. It's a gift. The whale hums again, softer this time, like a bedtime whisper. You turn toward it. Its eyes are glowing more brightly now. Not in volume, but in depth. You understand. It's time to rise again. But not the way you came. The chamber begins to change. Not collapse, transform. The stone beneath your feet dissolves into light. The water becomes mist. The ceiling unfolds, revealing stars, not ones you recognize, but ones you instantly love. The whale rises, and this time, you don't follow. You join. Your body feels lighter than less there. You're still you, but now you're drifting upward, not swimming, not walking. Just rising. The chamber fades below, replaced by soft darkness streaked with ribbons of light like brushstrokes in a night sky. You realize you are no longer underwater. You are floating in the moon currents. The whale moves beside you, completely unbound by gravity or thought. Around you swirl ribbons of water and light that tangle with one another like sea serpents made of silk. The currents dance, lifting you gently, spinning you without dizziness, wrapping you in calm. You laugh, not loudly, not sharply. Just enough for the currents to carry the sound and echo it back, a lullaby of your own joy. The whale twirls beside you, and the currents spiral faster in playful response. Stars pass you by, not distant stars, but close ones, small enough to hold in your palm, warm enough to keep. You let one touch your fingertip and feel it leave behind a tingle, like a memory being born. You and the whale spiral upward, through moonlight that swims, past drifting lilies that bloom only when sung to, beneath arches of coral that form spontaneously from thought and collapse gently after you pass. And as you rise through the moon currents, a thought flutters gently through your mind. Some dreams don't fade when you wake. Some follow you softly, like songs that never needed words. You and the whale spiral together through the drifting moon currents, rising as if the water has grown lighter than air. You're no longer bound by the ocean's floor, nor by time or direction. Everything here moves with intention but without urgency, like breath in a sleeping body. The currents swirl more widely now, opening into a space unlike any you've seen before. A massive dome of light unfolds around you, soft and warm, with a glow that seems to come from beneath your skin rather than above your head. You drift toward its center, the whale gliding a few lengths behind, humming low, as if letting you lead for the first time. And then, the floor appears. Not stone. Not coral. Something else. It's a cavern, but it breathes, not metaphorically, not symbolically. The walls inhale and exhale slowly, pulsing like lungs wrapped in bioluminescence. Each rise and fall moves the currents around you, stirring the light like golden dust in water. The walls are covered in smooth, round stones, each one softly glowing with a different hue, as if charged with slumbering stories. This is the cavern of breathing stones. You hover just above the floor, your toes barely skimming the glowing mist. When you place your feet down, the ground doesn't resist, it welcomes. Like memory made physical. Each step you take causes the stones nearby to brighten briefly, like stars acknowledging your presence before returning to sleep. The whale moves around the chamber, circling quietly, sending its slow hum into the walls. And the stones respond. One by one, they begin to chime, not loudly, not in perfect pitch, but in harmony. A resonance that turns the entire cavern into a lullaby you can feel more than hear. You approach one of the stones, an oblong shape the color of soft rose light. It pulses faintly. You crouch beside it and place a hand on its surface. It's warm. And then it speaks. Not in voice, but in memory. You see a snow-covered garden. A red scarf twisting in the wind. Two hands reaching for each other and meeting halfway, not perfectly, not confidently, but willingly. The kind of memory that hums with possibility. You withdraw your hand gently. The stone dims, content. The next stone glows emerald. You kneel beside it. This one offers the smell of wood smoke. The sound of laughter behind a door not yet opened. The hush that falls over a room just before someone important walks in. Each stone you touch gives something different, not always your own memory, but always familiar. As if the ocean borrowed pieces of everyone and stored them safely here, letting them rest, grow soft, and wait. You walk further into the cavern. In the center, a large stone, flat, smooth, and wide enough to lie on, glows with a soft silver blue. You move toward it instinctively. It feels like something you were meant to find, not search for. You lie down. The moment your back touches the stone, it shifts, just slightly, like a bed adjusting to your shape. A hush falls over the room. Even the whale stills. Above you, the ceiling begins to move. Patterns of light, like constellations seen through a pool, dance across the cavern dome. You realize they're not stars. They're memories, flickering across the sky like shooting thoughts. The stone beneath you begins to hum. It's not music. It's not speech. It's truth, spoken in the language of deep sleep. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not alone. You breathe. Slowly. Deeply. And as you exhale, the walls of the cavern exhale with you, the light dimming, then brightening again in rhythm. 1,000 glowing stones breathing with you. For you. The whale sings once more, this time softer, quieter. It's not calling you forward anymore. It's tucking you in. You feel your body begin to dissolve at the edges. Not in fear. Not in erasure. But in peace. Like a painting left out in the gentle rain, becoming part of the world again, stroke by stroke. You drift upward once more, slowly leaving the stone. You don't push. You don't try. You simply rise. The cavern fades below you. The breathing slows. The stones return to silence. And you? You are rising again, toward the surface of a dream you're not quite ready to leave, but that will always remember your visit. Above, a new light waits. Cool. Pale. Inviting. And as you follow it, the whale beside you, you realize. You've forgotten to wonder how long it's been. Because in places like this, time is a kindness. Not a countdown. You rise slowly from the cavern of breathing stones, wrapped in warmth that doesn't cling, but follows like mist off morning tea. The whale glides beside you, a shimmer of grace, its large eye closing briefly as if savoring the silence you now carry. Above you, the light softens from silver blue to a pale coral glow, the kind you might see behind closed eyes during the gentlest dreams. As you break through the ceiling of the cavern, the sea opens wide again, not in darkness, but in a kind of twilight where everything is tinted by memory. Shapes begin to emerge, drifting lazily, gently glowing. You've reached the village of floating dreams. But not the first one. This is deeper. Older. Sleepier. The structures here don't float above the ocean floor. They drift in air pockets suspended in the water. Glassy bubbles that hold entire rooms inside. Little homes with hammocks made of spider silk kelp. Circular reading nooks wrapped in vines that glow with soft runes, sleeping dens where dreamers snore like forest wind through tall trees. You drift past one home where an elderly woman floats upside down in a rocking chair. Her hair coils like sea foam, and a book reads itself aloud from the shelf beside her, its pages turning with each breath she takes. In another, a musician with fingers made of coral plays an instrument woven from seashell and silence, its notes too soft to disturb the water but loud enough to stir something old in your heart. The whole village hums, not with activity but with rest. You pass what looks like a temple with no doors, just wide arches leading to a central hall filled with golden light. Inside, dreamers rest in a circle, their bodies suspended midair, heads bowed, hands open. Above them, a slow-moving vortex of mist spins gently, whispering memories into their dreams. You don't disturb them. You only pass through, the water opening and folding behind you like a book page turned without a sound. The whale moves toward the far edge of the village, where the buildings become smaller and farther apart. Here, a long ribbon of glowing current coils upward like a spiral staircase made of moonlight. Without speaking, the whale glides into the spiral. You follow. The current lifts you like a lullaby, spinning softly, your arms loose by your sides. The sensation is not of movement, but of being invited. As if gravity is no longer a rule, but a suggestion. The spiral leads you into a small alcove, hidden among coral towers and flowering sea vines that open as you pass. At its center, a platform made of woven kelp and stardust. Upon it a table. And on that table, a map. Not a flat one. It floats, three-dimensional, made of drifting orbs and fine strands of glowing thread. You lean closer, and it responds, shifting slightly, as if recognizing you. Each orb pulses with quiet light, and as you watch, you begin to understand, these are not places. They are dreams. Each one a location someone once visited in sleep. Some flicker like they're being dreamt right now. Others pulse softly, archived but not forgotten. You lift a hand and gently touch one. You see a child flying above a glowing field of fireflies, their laughter blending with the stars. You touch another. A woman weeping silently in a hallway of mirrors, each reflection offering a different life, none of them wrong. Another. A great clock tower made of whispering wind, its chimes counting not hours, but moments when someone almost changed everything. You step back. The map folds in on itself, politely returning to stillness. The whale hums low. Not sad. Not serious. Just deep. You realize, in a way that only dreams can teach, that this village exists to keep these maps. To shelter the places you visit and sleep but forget by morning. To tend to the dreams you leave behind when you wake. And the whale? It remembers all of them. Not as a keeper, but as a singer of their truth. The current stirs gently again. It's time. You turn once more, following the whale as it leads you away from the quiet village, toward a glowing kelp boat moored to a dock made of light. The boat isn't empty. Waiting inside are lanterns, some lit, some dark. Some shaped like memories, others like hopes. The whale nudges you gently toward the boat. It doesn't follow. You pause. And then, you bow, an instinct, not a decision. The whale lowers its head. A farewell. Not forever. Just for this part of the dream. You step into the boat. The moment you settle into its silk-woven seat, the lanterns begin to rise around you, forming a floating trail into the depths ahead. At the far edge of your vision, a river of light pulses softly. You begin to drift. Carried now not by your effort, but by permission. Toward the ribbon tides. Toward the next part of the song. The kelp boat glides forward, barely disturbing the water around it. It doesn't bob or sway, it floats as if it's being carried by thought alone. The lanterns surrounding you remain perfectly spaced, rising and falling in slow waves, like dancers keeping time with a rhythm too gentle to hear. The river ahead, the ribbon tide, is unlike any current you've seen. It weaves through the water like a painter's brush, layered in colors that shift with your mood. As you watch, the tide deepens into a warm amethyst hue, touched with streaks of gold. You smile softly, though you couldn't say why. Your boat merges into the ribbon, and at once, the current changes. You're no longer just drifting, you're gliding. Forward. Downward. Inward. The movement isn't fast, but it carries a kind of certainty, like a whispered promise you didn't realize you needed. Around you, shapes begin to emerge. Not creatures exactly, but presences. Bioluminescent eels drift alongside your boat, their bodies winding like threads of moonlight. They do not lead you. They accompany you. Their eyes shimmer with intelligence, and their movements form patterns, as if writing something into the tide itself. A language you feel in your chest more than read with your eyes. You lean over the edge of the boat. Beneath you, an entire city sleeps, embedded into the walls of the ocean's trench. Spiral towers of coral, woven bridges of sea silk, windows glowing with soft light. No movement. No sound. Just stillness, the kind that cradles, not stifles. This is the Dream City. Not a place for visitors. A place for dreams themselves to live. Each structure holds a fragment, a thought that wasn't finished, a memory misplaced, a question never asked aloud. And they're not forgotten here. They rest. Until you need them again. Your fingers trail into the water. It's warm, softer than velvet. The kelp boat sighs in response, adjusting its path slightly to bring you closer to the lights below. The eels shift formation, creating a spiraling path through the tides. You follow, passing archways of woven reef that shimmer with every breath. One arch pulses as you pass beneath it, and a bell-like tone releases, low, clear, a sound that feels like someone saying yes, just when you needed it. You think, just for a moment, I wish I could stay here forever. And the boat answers. Not aloud. It simply glows. Because the boat knows. No one truly leaves a dream like this. Not entirely. The ribbon tide begins to narrow, forming a corridor of light. Ahead, a shimmering wall, like silk caught mid-flutter. As your boat approaches, the wall bends, inviting you through. And just like that, the water feels different again. Thinner. Cooler. Higher. You've risen without realizing it. Not in height, but in tone, like a song reaching its high note. The boat slows. You're approaching a clearing in the tides, an open space where the current goes still and sound becomes sacred. Above you, ice begins to form. Not hard, not jagged, just delicate plates of translucent crystal, drifting in wide arcs. They catch the light from below and bend it into tiny rainbows that dance across your skin and the boat's frame. Each ice plate sings faintly as it turns. Not a tune. A tone. Notes long and deep, layered in harmony. You're entering the choir beneath the ice. The eels pause and spiral upward, their light dimming, as if bowing out respectfully. Here, the whale returns. You see it in the distance, its form darker now against the gleaming frost, like ink brushed across silver silk. As it nears, its voice rises again, clearer than ever. No longer muted by depth or softened by fog. It sings one note. And the ice sings back. The entire chamber vibrates with harmony. It's not loud. It's vast. As though the universe hums quietly when no one is listening, and tonight, you finally are. Your boat spins gently in place. You tilt your head back. Above you, the ice flows open, revealing a sky filled with lights that aren't stars. Not quite. They are dreams in motion. Each one flickers and sways, not distant, but approaching. You hold out a hand. One of the lights slows, draws near, and rests in your palm. It doesn't glow, it remembers. It shows you a moment. A touch on your shoulder when you needed it most. A sentence left unsaid that didn't need words. A feeling of peace in the middle of a long night. The light dissolves, not fading, but blending, becoming part of your skin, your memory, your breath. The choir above continues. The ice turns. The whale circles. And your boat, your faithful, quiet boat, rises once more, following the call of the tide, the lull of the song, the pull of a place even softer than dreams. The whale leads. The ribbon tide twists upward, glowing gently, toward what feels like the highest chamber of the sea. You follow, body light, eyes wide, and heart no longer wondering what waits, but knowing it will arrive softly. The ribbon tide spirals upward, growing narrower, quieter. The choir of the ice fades behind you, its echoes settling deep into your chest like the last lines of a lullaby you didn't realize you'd memorized. Your kelboat hums as it glides, slower now, as if sensing that you're approaching something sacred. The eels are gone, the lanterns are still. Even the sea seems to have paused, offering you silence so soft, it feels like velvet brushed across your thoughts. Ahead, the water begins to glow with a faint blush, as though a sunrise were hiding somewhere behind the next bend. The whale swims above you now, not leading anymore, but circling protectively, its massive tail stirring lazy currents that ripple like silk through still air. You feel it watching, not with concern, but with tenderness. As if it knows that you've reached a part of the journey where everything changes, and it simply wants to be nearby. Then you see it. Far ahead, in the distance, emerging slowly from the pearlescent fog. A shape. Tall, arching, impossibly wide. A spire of sea ice rising from the ocean floor, reaching into the stars above. Its edges are soft, its surface translucent like frozen moonlight. And around it, snow falls, not down, but upward. Each flake dances toward the surface like reversed memory. Your boat slows to a stop, and you step out without sinking. The ocean floor here is solid crystal. It resonates with the whale's hum, each vibration spreading out beneath your feet like echoes of old kindnesses. You walk forward slowly, surrounded by falling snow that makes no sound as it brushes your skin. You are approaching the place where the whale's song was born. And as you near the spire, it happens. A sound begins to rise, not from the whale this time, but from the spire itself. A long, soft, ancient chord. It begins deep, the way mountains hum when no one listens. Then it ascends, building into layers. Notes that loop, rest, and then resolve. This is the whale's final song. You stand still. The whale floats closer, circling the spire once, then twice, its body shimmering with bioluminescent patterns you've never seen before, lines like script across its sides, glowing with emotion rather than language. It releases a note in response, just one. And the spire answers. Not louder, not brighter, just more true. The sound is no longer music. It's a memory made of feeling. It's the time you forgave yourself in the dark. It's the joy you never told anyone about, because it felt too private, too whole. It's the moment you realized that being alone wasn't the same as being empty. And somehow, all of that is now part of the whale's voice. You walk forward and place your hand on the spire. It's cold, but not harsh. Like the kind of cold you feel on the skin just before sleep takes hold. A clearing. A stilling. A signal. The spire pulses once beneath your palm. Then opens. Not physically, nothing moves. But suddenly you know. You see the journey in reverse. The seaweed bazaar. The breathing cavern. The Titapool clockwork. The floating village. The jellyfish cathedral. The moment you sank for the first time, wrapped in moonlight and breathless awe. It all folds into itself, not vanishing, but becoming a single, glowing thread. That thread moves through you now, from spine to ribs to breath, and settles into your chest, quiet and firm. The whale sings again. This time, it is unmistakably a goodbye. But not a sorrowful one. The kind of goodbye that plants seeds instead of closing doors. You turn to face it, eyes wide. It draws close, so close you could reach out and touch its forehead. So you do. And for a moment, less than a second, you are no longer in your body. You are whale. You feel what it feels. The joy of guiding. The ache of witnessing. The beauty of holding dreams that don't belong to you, but become part of you anyway. And then, gently, you are you again. The whale turns slowly, circling once, then swimming toward the upper reaches of the water, its glow fading into the light of the spire behind you. It does not look back. It does not need to. Because part of it remains with you. The song lingers, folded gently in the chambers of your ribs. You kneel at the base of the spire. Snow still falls upward. The silence deepens. And somewhere far above, something begins to open. A gate? A sky? A memory? You feel it before you see it. The dream is nearly done. But the peace remains. Like the last chord of a lullaby ringing in a quiet room, long after the singer has gone. The silence after the song feels like its own kind of music, steady, sacred, alive. You kneel at the base of the spire, surrounded by snow that never lands, within a hush that doesn't need to be filled. Above you, the whale is gone now, risen back into the higher tides, but the warmth of its presence remains in your chest like a hearth that continues to glow after the fire is out. You rise slowly, careful not to disturb the stillness. Not because you're afraid to break it, but because you respect it. This silence deserves to be listened to. The spire fades behind you as the crystal beneath your feet turns soft again, like silk soaked in starlight. The path forward curves naturally, gently upward, like a hill built from dreams that have no weight. You walk without effort. Every step feels like it's being taken by someone else, someone kinder, more rested. A version of you that finally trusts where they're going. Then the light changes again. Subtle. Warmer. The soft blues become creamy gold. The water thins, becoming luminous and smooth, no longer cold, no longer full of movement. And ahead, just at the edge of vision, you see it. A vast plain of still water, perfectly flat, reflecting not the sea above, but the stars. You approach the edge and stop. This is the place where the sea sleeps. A horizon that isn't a line, but a blur. The sky and ocean have merged here, and you can no longer tell which is which. A single ripple runs across the surface, slow, wide, and calm. It carries no urgency. No message. It just moves because it wants to. You step onto the surface. and it holds you. You walk across the sleeping sea like a child tiptoeing through a memory. The water glows faintly beneath each footfall, pearlescent pulses that spread and then vanish. You are not heavy here. You are not even whole in the way you once were. You're something better, gentle. The stars above begin to drift downward, like snowflakes returning home. They land in the sea with no splash, no sound, just a soft wink as they disappear into the quiet. You look up. The sky is no longer black. It is soft rose, deep lavender, quiet amber. The color of a dream beginning to end. And in that moment, something shifts inside you. Not sharply, not dramatically, but with certainty. You realize you've stopped needing to understand where you are. Because you belong here. Not as a visitor, but as someone who remembered. The sea breathes once more. You feel it. And just ahead, in the center of this silent sea, lies a small island. A single tree grows there, wide-branched, full of silver leaves that rustle without wind. Beneath it, a place to rest. Not elaborate. Not ornate. Just ready. You walk toward it. When you reach the island, the ground becomes mossy and cool, the kind of soft that invites you to sit without asking. You do. And above you, the leaves of the tree begin to shimmer. They don't speak, but they share. One by one, each leaf reveals a moment, brief, kind, and true. A hand held in quiet apology. A laugh shared between strangers. A deep breath taken alone in the woods. A cup of tea made for someone else without being asked. All the tiny acts of love that often go uncelebrated. They rise now. They become stars. And drift back into the sky above. You lie back. The moss cradles you like memory. The sky folds its arms around you. And for a long moment, nothing moves. Not the water. Not your thoughts. Not even your breath. Everything is whole. Everything is held. And just before the dream begins to dissolve, you hear the final note of the whale's song. Not from outside, but from within. It hums in your chest, like a secret you've always known but never dared to whisper. And as you close your eyes, the dream doesn't end. It settles. Like a book returning to a shelf. Like a tide rolling gently back to shore. The island is quiet now. Not the kind of quiet that feels empty, but the kind that arrives only after something has been made whole. You lie beneath the silver-leaved tree, your body weightless in the moss, no longer needing dreams to feel complete, but gently bathed in them, like a shoreline soothed by each passing tide. The sky above glows softly, no longer scattered with stars, but with slow-turning shapes, constellations in motion, not bound to names or myths, but simply drifting. Some resemble creatures you saw along the way, a ribbon eel, a jellyfish dome, a curl of kelp turning in thought. Others resemble emotions you've carried, now free to float as light. The sea, ever still, mirrors it all. You sit up slowly. The motion doesn't startle the moss, or the island, or the sky. Everything adjusts with you, the way kindness always finds space. The tree rustles once, and a single silver leaf drifts down. You catch it. It crumbles to light in your hand, no ash, no weight. Just a soft warmth, like a smile remembered a day too late but still worth having. The island begins to shimmer. Not as if fading, but transforming. The water surrounding it ripples once, then begins to glow. The edge of the island dissolves into it, until you are no longer on a surface, but simply within something, cradled in a warm dream that no longer separates sea from sky, sky from breath. A soft current takes hold. You don't resist. You let it carry you. Upward. Gently, like a note held on the breeze. You pass through soft veils of mist, each one thinner than the last. Within them you see faint impressions, images not of where you've been, but of how you felt while there. One veil shows you resting on the whale's back. Another shows your hand brushing coral in the Titapool library. Another is only light, the golden fog that first welcomed you in. These are the dream's final gifts. Not reminders, but anchors. And just when you think the ascent must end, you break the final veil. And arrive in a place that doesn't quite have form. A space where everything is soft light, soft sound, soft motion. And there, floating in the center, is a single note. You don't hear it. You don't see it. You know it. The last vibration of the whale's song, still echoing, still here. It settles into you. And in that moment, you understand. The dream isn't ending. It's simply becoming part of you. The whale, the village, the lanterns, the glowing eels, the tree of silver leaves, each has stitched itself into the quiet folds of your breath. You will carry them now. Not heavily. Not obviously. But softly, like warmth in your chest during quiet mornings. You drift downward once more, not to return, but to rest. The sea curls gently around you, now indistinguishable from the stars. And as your eyes begin to close within the dream, you feel the last ripple move through you. A whisper, not from the whale, not from the sea, but from within. This is yours now. And so you sleep, not because you're tired, but because everything that needed to arrive, has. The journey is complete. The dream has tucked itself in. And so have you. You float now in the quiet space between dreaming and waking, where nothing rushes and nothing expects. The whale is gone, but not lost. Its song lingers in the rhythm of your breath, a slow, deep melody threaded through your body like the tide's gentle pull across sand. You carry it now, not as a memory, but as a feeling. A softness that lives just behind your ribs. The sea is no longer something you swim through. It is something that lives within you. The silver leaves from the tree above still turn in the breeze of your thoughts, rustling faintly when you smile, even in sleep. The floating village, the jellyfish cathedral, the titterpools that whispered time, all of them continue to breathe, resting safely within the folds of your heart. You are not outside this dream anymore. You are part of it. And when you wake, if you wake, you may forget the whale's voice, the current's glow, the way light bends in the water's hush. But you will remember the feeling. The peace. The gentleness. The way the dream held you without asking anything in return. So let your breath stay soft. Let your limbs remain weightless. There's no need to rise quickly. No need to answer anything. The sea still sleeps. And for now, so should you. End of script. Sweet dreams.